The law of alignment, living in divine order. In the book of Matthew chapter 11 verse 30, the Bible says that my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Effort is powerful. Discipline is essential. And environment matters. But without alignment, all progress becomes frustrating. It is very important that we put in efforts. It is very important that we are disciplined. And in the previous chapters of my book, I've discussed the importance of all these things in there. But efforts, discipline, environment will only matter when we are aligned. That is to say that without alignment, all progress becomes very frustrating. The Bible said that God's yoke is easy and his burden is light. In other words, when we strive to align with the purpose of God, everything becomes easy. And that is why the Bible conscientizes us to always be aligned with God, for his yoke is easy and his burden is light. Alignment is not about doing more. It's about doing the right things in the right order. Many times, many of us want to do all things, want to do so much. Every financial expert will tell you that it's not about the many things you are doing, but about finding the right thing and doing it the right way so that you'll be able to make all the profits you are looking for and live a resultful life. It is the same with our lives. It's not about the many things we are doing that takes us to a place of fulfillment or takes us to a place of satisfaction. It's aligning with purpose, understanding what we ought to do, and knowing what we ought to do. And when we do that, we are able to align with the purpose of God, and then things become easy for us, and we are satisfied, and we live in a resultful life, void of disappointments, void of depression, void of setbacks, void of retrogression, and all the things that comes with if we are not aligned with the purpose of God. To be able to build the resilience, to learn to do the right things and ignore every other thing that really do not matter, every other thing that tends to take energy from us and yet leads us nowhere, we need to build 4 key areas of our lives. The first thing we need to understand is God's will. In Luke chapter 22 verse 42, the Bible said, "Not my will, but yours be done." You will never be able to live a life of alignment, a purposeful life of joy, of happiness, if you do not really understand the will of God for mankind. When we discuss the purpose of our lives and we discuss our visions, and our vision contradicts the will of God, many a times we are thrown into disarray. It's very important we get to the place where we come to a place of understanding the will of God. What is the will of God for mankind? What is the plan of God for the whole world? When we are able to discover the will of God, it leads us to the second place where we discover our purpose. In God's agenda for the world, God cannot do it himself. And so God's agenda for the world is accomplished through men. The other day, Jesus looked at the disciples and he said unto them, "The harvest is very plentiful. The harvest is huge. The harvest is big." Then God tells his disciples that pray to the Lord of the harvest that he will send more laborers. Whatever God's agenda is on earth, he needs men to use them in this plan so that whatever he wishes for will be possible on earth. Remember the other day when God wanted to come to the world as man, he needed the womb of Mary. God uses men in the activities of the earth, and that is why it's very important that after understanding the will of God, you come to a place of paying attention and aligning with your purpose. God's will is not just there, and don't just think that you are nobody. Don't just think that you are a non-entity. No, you are not a biological error. You are not a genetic mistake. You are not a product of some kind of research. God prepared you for such a time as this, and there is a purpose. There is a role you must play in the betterment of this world and in God's agenda for mankind. And so after understanding God's will, you must understand your purpose on earth. Now, your purpose will lead you to the third thing, which I discussed in my book, Start: How to Lay Spiritual, Mental, and Practical Foundations for a Successful Year in the 21st Century. The third thing you should understand after God's will and your purpose has to do with your values. The Bible said, the hand of the diligent shall bear rule. Proverbs chapter 12 verse 24, which is to say that there are certain values. When we build them, it leads us to place of rulership. It leads us to place of conquering. It leads us to places of becoming victorious all the time. You cannot know God's will and understand your purpose and, for example, be lazy. You cannot know God's will and understand your purpose and, for example, like to procrastinate things. There are principles and values you must develop in every new year. It is very imperative that we are committed to the right values so that we'll be able to get to the place where we wish to get to. And so it's very important to know God's will. It's very important to understand your purpose. It's very important to build values, quality values, actionable values, resultful values that will help you to be able to gravitate gradually towards your purpose and fulfill God's plan for your life. And then the last thing has to do with understanding seasons. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and the verse 11, the Bible said, He has made everything beautiful in its season. Whatever happens outside its season loses its glory. When a woman who is 3 months old pregnant see another woman who is 9 months old pregnant giving birth, and this woman who is 3 months old pregnant decide that because the 9-month-old one has given birth, so she will force herself to give birth, she will give birth all right, but it's called miscarriage because the birth happened outside the season. And so many times we rush out of our season, we rush ahead of God's plan, and that is why our gifts are not celebrated, and that is why our breakthroughs do not manifest, because we run ahead of time. And so this example I gave, for instance, if the 3-month-old lady decides that yes, my baby is 3 months now, let me pay attention, it's just a matter of time. By the time she's also 9 months, because of seasons and time, she will also give birth peacefully. Another example is if a young boy who is 16 years old gets angry that he can't vote whilst everybody is voting. That boy is not being wise, because his ability to vote is hidden in time and season. In just few years' time, he can be able to exercise his voting right when he's 18 years old. And that is why the fourth thing that was discussed in this book has to do with understanding times and season. And so you need to understand God's will, you need to understand your purpose, you need to understand your values, and then you need to understand the power of times and season. The Bible speaking the other day said the children of Issachar were children who were wise in their days because they understood times and seasons. It is very important we do not run ahead of our lives. It's very important we take the ability and the discernment to be able to discover when is our planting time, when is our sowing time, and then when is our manifesting time. But in between planting and harvesting, there is a season of waiting, which is not a wasted time. Many people do not know how to wait. Many people do not know how to be patient. There is a reason why in Galatians chapter 5, one of the cardinal gifts of the Spirit is patience and long suffering. Sometimes waiting is not a mistake. The Bible said the other day that they that wait upon the Lord, they renew their strength. So understanding seasons will help you to know when you are, what time of your life there is. Is it a season of planting? Is it a season of waiting? Is it a season of of watering? Is it a season of harvesting? The other day, Paul said he planted and Apollos watered, but at the end of the day, it was God that gave the increase. And so it is very important you understand the power of alignment. And that is why I encourage you to get my book, Start: How to Lay Spiritual, Mental, and Practical Foundation for a Successful Year in the 21st Century. And this book will introduce you to so many principles that will make you a winner, that will make your year a victorious one, and that will make you happy at the end of the day. Don't forget, my name is Reverend Som-Fianko, and if you want a copy of this book, just send a WhatsApp message to +233 240 545700. +233 240 545700. Follow me on all social media platforms and let's get interactive. I love you. Bye bye.